So starting off in this video, this is everything I will be using today to make my soap. All of the ingredients and the products that I use and like the instruments will be in the description box below. If you are new here and you do not know me, I did start a small business back in 2020, and even though I didn't get to do my website and a lot of other things that I had wanted to do, I have still been making orders, personal orders and custom orders for family, friends, and others. So today I had an order for some soaps, so I wanted to show you guys. In my previous soap making video, I do not use the soap method with the lye solution to make it, and you have to let it cure and all that stuff. I prefer using melted soap, like the pour. So I order my soaps in bulk from my vendor off of Amazon. I've been ordering from since 2021. What I like about this soap is that they come with actually different varies of different soap base. This soap base specifically that I like to use for my small business is shea butter. They also have goat milk soap base. They have clear soap base. They have oat milk. They have different kinds, coconut milk. So they have a lot of different bases, soap bases that you can choose from. I specifically like the shea butter. It's the one I started with and the one I've been using. And I have tried their clear soap base for sea moss soap, and it actually worked really good. And I'll do a separate video on that another time. But as far as my soap making, I prefer to use this because it's just more natural for me, and I want to stick with what I like. So the reason why I'm cutting up the soap in cubes is because to me this just makes the melting process faster, and I'm also making two different batches of soap, so that's also why I'm cutting it up, because I'm going to separate the two, and you guys will see that further in the video. But this is just a faster way for me, I believe, with melting, instead of just throwing the whole thing inside of the measuring cup to melt. This is what my soap looks like after cutting it up in cubes, and I just put them into different measuring cups, which I'm going to do the double boiling method on the stove to melt them. These are a few extra ingredients I'm going to be adding into my soap. So I have pure Castile soap, this liquid, and then I also have organic jojoba oil, and then I have some vegetable glycerin. I like to add pure Castile soap because it adds more sudsy and soapy to the soap. And then I like to use the organic jojoba oil because it has great benefits for the skin. And then I also use the vegetable glycerin because it also has great benefits for the skin and also makes the sud more soapy as well. My soap is melting. I'm going to get started with my oats. So the first batch of soap I'm making is oatmeal soap, and I do like to use real whole grain oats in this soap. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to take some oats into this blender. I'm going to grind it up just because I want it to have a nice fine texture, and it also gives that kind of exfoliating feel with the soap when the soap is being used. So that's what I'm going to do now, is just grind it up really nice and finely so there's not too many chunks into my oatmeal soap. I didn't do much measuring while I was doing this part, which I probably should have, because I actually did have a lot of oats left over. But for anyone who might try to make the soap the way I'm doing, do measure. I would say put less oats, or if you want more oats for an exfoliating feel, then do so. I did leave a few whole pieces just for like the aesthetic, but for the most part it's grinded down good. For my next batch of soap right here, this is the same method I did with the oil and the Castile soap and vegetable glycerin. Now all I'm doing here differently is just adding some peppermint oil because this is a peppermint soap. So this is not much I have to do for. This was actually an easier batch that I made. So I'm just adding in some drops of the peppermint oil, and I'm just going to stir it up. So it wasn't really much for me to show the same repetitive, you know, what I showed you guys in the beginning. As I mentioned earlier, I like to keep my products as natural and organic as possible with when I make my products. So here I'm going to be using real raw organic honey for the oatmeal soap, and I'm going to be just adding a spoonful only because I'm only making 3 bars of this soap and 3 bars of the peppermint, so I didn't need to use as much honey. Once I mix that up, I'm going to just add in my oats. With adding in the oats, I was doing little like little pours, like little bit by bit, because I didn't want it to clunk, and I wanted to make sure that I stirred it in good and that it mixed well with the soap, because not all of the soap was melted. So I'm just going to pour in the oats bit by bit and just stir as I go, just to make sure everything settles in together. I'd also like to mention that oatmeal is really good for the skin. It's calming and soothing if you have irritated skin, specifically like someone with eczema or just someone that's more on the drier and sensitive side with their skin. Oatmeal soap is very good for the skin, and so is honey. But please do your research before attempting to buy any of these things or making the soap, just to make sure that it won't irritate your skin even more if you already have a condition with your skin. Always do your research and don't just go off of what you see on the internet. I'm just sharing what I do and how I make my soaps, but you know, just make sure that you know your skin and your body type first before attempting to just buy or make something that you've never done before. Now, this soap already had its own natural aroma, which was really sweet from the honey and then with the oats, but I wanted to make sure that the scent stayed. So I did add a few drops of essential oil, which was honey and oatmeal scented, just because I wanted to make sure that the scent it naturally had didn't go too faint once I went for the drying process of the soaps in the soap mold. In my previous soap making video, I had used a more thicker molds because I was making more batches of the same soap. Since I'm doing 2 different scented soaps with 3 bars, I'm going to be using this like singular kind of a mold that I ordered for Amazon. And first thing I'm doing is just spraying. Now this is the only chemical that I'm using, and I usually use within some of my products, especially sanitizer, is rubbing alcohol. Besides that, I like to keep everything chemically like not really into my products. But to avoid bubbles, this is what I do. I spray some rubbing alcohol into my soap mold and prep that before I start to pour the soap in. And again, like I said, this is going to avoid holes and like, you know, bubbles with your soap, so your soap comes out nice and flat, and you'll see when it's done. So I don't pour in any specific way. I just fill up to my liking, and then I spray 2 to 3 sprays again of that rubbing alcohol on top of the soap, so the bubbles will disappear, which you'll see in a second. Now I'm going to just add a few spritz of the rubbing alcohol on top of the soap. And as you see, the little bubbles will go away once I spray them. So this will be the back side of the soap. So I like to fix any imperfections before the soap starts to dry. And now I'm going to pour the other batch of soap in the other part of the mold. And this is the peppermint soap. Just going to repeat the process of the rubbing alcohol spraying to get rid of those little bubbles. So for the drying process, what I usually do is before I put my soap into the refrigerator overnight or for a few hours to get back solid again, I let it sit first because it is wet, and I let the top of the soap form this like shell type of covering. Once I see that it's dry on the top, then that's when I know it's okay to move the soap without it getting messed up. I had some oats left, so I was trying to be a little extra and just try to like add a little bit on one of the soaps while they were still kind of wet on the top. So I just added some more oats. This will be for the bottom, so just a little razzle dazzle. So this is what the soap looks like when it starts to form like that top shell to dry, as you can see. And as you can see up close up too, the reason why I like to use the rubbing alcohol to spray for the bubbles is because it gives it a nice flat finish. This is the packaging I will be using to package up the soap. Initially, I'm going to later on change to paper packaging, but for right now, I'm just using what I still have. So this is the next day now. My soap is completely dry. As you can see, we have the oatmeal and the peppermint. Some of the oatmeal did transfer into the peppermint soap, but it did not dry on it. So I'm just going to take a paper towel and just like, just remove that extra oats or whatnot. As you can see in the coloring, I did not use any food coloring, which I usually do use for some of my soaps. I love the natural color that came out with the honey and the oats for the oatmeal soap. And as you can see with the peppermint, I did not use anything. I like to pop the soaps out halfway out of the mold while I get the packaging, like the bags ready for the soap, just so when I get the bags open, it's just easy for me just to grab the soap and put it in instead of trying to do this after, excuse me. So these are the packagings that I'm using for this soap, and specifically for this size soap molds, I have these smaller ones. I do have two other sizes that are bigger for when I use my my longer soap molds. So I do have 3 different size bags for soaps because I also can put 2 soaps in one bag if I had an order like that. But for this, I'm going to be using singular bags for this. And what I like to do, because I don't like, in the past I've had issues with the sides of the bag scraping the soap, I like to stretch out the bag as much as I can, just so that the edges do not get scraped. But I'm just showing you guys how good the soap looks, and just like how that there's no bubbles. So I'm just going to show you guys how I do it carefully without scraping the sides. Like I said, I like to stretch the bag as much as I can, because the inside of where you seal it at, it sometimes it carves the sides of the soap. So I like to be as careful as possible while putting this in, just to not damage the soap. I also have labels that are already made for the soaps, which I didn't get to show you guys in this video, but I can do a label making video another time. But this is what it looks like in the packaging, and usually what I do after is just put the sticker on the back of the ingredients and how to use the soap and how to store it away without using the bag to avoid any kind of bacteria. Here's a close view of the soap, of the oatmeal soap. I love how this came out. This is the bottom of the soap, or it could be the top, either or, but this is what that looks like, and this is the one that I got creative with. I actually like how this came out. This did have a little bubbles on the side, but it's okay because it kind of just looks like it's the oatmeal, but this soap came out pretty good. So this is pretty much how I make and package my singular soaps when I have smaller orders, instead of the first video I did with the soap making video. And also, like I said, I labeled everything and packaged it up off camera, because I did have to actually mail these soaps off to the person that I made them for. So I did have some soap base left over, and I did decide to make me my own bar soap. I actually was able to make 3 heart soaps. I made 2 for my niece and 1 for me. And this is my oatmeal soap. Just wanted to show you guys how it looked and just show you how it lathered under some water. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful for anyone who may be curious about making soap, or just want to know the process of making soap. I want to thank you for all my new subscribers, my returning subscribers, and anyone who's new to this video and stopping by my channel. I hope you stay, and stay tuned for some more videos later.